Hi, my name is Sarah, and today I'm making this video to talk about how I adopted a 6-year-old girl at the age of 22. I wanted to talk about our journey, how we came to adopt our daughter Jocelyn. Now, this isn't going to be her story. Her story is different than ours. This is our point of view, and what I hope that people can get from this is that adoption isn't random. You'll see that there's a lot of events that had to come together in order for us to meet Jocelyn and ultimately adopt her. So I'm just going to start from the beginning, kind of a timeline of events. When I was 20 years old, I brought up the idea of adopting to my husband. And he was all for it, and that's kind of just how we decided to adopt. There wasn't like some epiphany moment. It was just that I think I was kind of sitting at home one day looking around, and I was like, we have a safe place for a kid, and it's just the two of us, so why not help out? Started talking about, okay, well, how do we adopt? But we were looking at doing like through a private agency, and we realized that was going to cost a lot of money. Still was a possibility. We looked at international adoption, which of course also is very expensive. And while I was researching, I think we actually watched like a web seminar about adoption. They brought up adopting from foster care. And we realized adopting from foster care is free. There are so many children that need adopted, and people don't really think about adopting from foster care as much as maybe just, sitting down with these prospective parents and you're getting chosen out of a book, all that kind of stuff. Well, we liked the idea of adopting from foster care more. I was looking into what do we need to do. Well, it was a couple months away from my 21st birthday, and in order to foster in Missouri, which is where we're at, you had to be 21. Well, I was like, okay, when I turn 21, we're going to start the process. And I was so excited on my 21st birthday. I was not excited to drink or party or any of that. I didn't do any of that. I was just excited because I could start this journey that was just like nagging and pulling at my heart all the time. I was thinking about it all the time, about how I wanted to become a foster parent so that I could adopt. Only wanted to adopt from foster care. The idea of being foster parents alone just terrified us. We started the process, and we went to the classes, and we did the home study, and we did all the things that we needed to do. And in April of 2019, we became licensed foster parents. Now, through the process, through the classes and everything, we realized we want to be foster parents too. We still really felt a pull to adoption. It always felt like there was a child out there for Mitch and I that we were just waiting to find. So I had this pull to adopt very strongly. But now I was like, fostering alone seems like I can help some kids, and we can be fulfilled by that. So now we have decided to be foster parents with still this really strong feeling that we were looking for our kid. During this time of becoming licensed, I would stay up at night sometimes, or just while I'm washing the dishes or just doing various things, I would think about this kid that I felt like was my kid, my child that I was trying to find. And I would pray for them. I would pray that they had peace and comfort until we could be united, because I was their mom, but I didn't know who they were, and I couldn't find them. And it's a feeling that you just can't even describe. But I just prayed and hoped and waited and did what I needed to do, but also just put faith that this was going to work out the way that it was intended to work out. Back to the timeline of events. We were licensed in April. Well, about a week later, we got our first placement. It was a 3-year-old little boy. I'm not going to go much into our previous placements, but a 3-year-old little boy. We had him for about a week. He was perfect. A month before we had our next placement. Now, this placement came to be kind of strange. So we weren't contacted about this placement. I actually saw on one of a Facebook support group for foster parents that they were looking for placement of another 3-year-old boy. We're available. We have the room set up still for a 3-year-old. So I reached out to them, and that's how we got our next placement. That was kind of strange. It's not a typical way to do it. I wouldn't recommend posting on social media about moving kids and stuff like that. That wasn't typical. It was a weird thing. We had him for about a month, and his caseworker, I think she saw that we were really serious about foster care. After he left, she kind of sent me an email, and she was like, look, if there's another placement that comes up, I'll keep you guys in mind. Well, We went on vacation and came back not really expecting anything, but turns out there was a placement, and another caseworker in the office of the caseworker that we had a 6-year-old girl that was needing adopted, and our caseworker said, I know a family. It was June 11th, and she texted me, you guys have any thoughts on adopting a 6-year-old girl, no behaviors? I remember getting this message. Mitch was in the kitchen. I think he was making dinner. I was sitting on the couch, and I was like, you need to come here. We wanted to adopt. That was the original plan. We'd only been licensed 2 months. We were getting this message asking if we wanted to adopt. And I just had a feeling that we needed to say yes. I told Mitch, I was like, we need to get more information. Like, we called them, we got information, we set up visits that we could do with the foster family that she was living with. And this whole time I was like, this is what we need to do. It was terrifying. We were licensed for 0 to 5 is what we had opened up our home to. We believed she was 6. Turns out when she came over that she was actually 5, but we thought she was 6. It was just scary. We didn't know her. And, we knew that if we opened up our home to her and we said, yes, we want to take her as a placement, that we were going to adopt her, because there was no way that we were going to make her move again. Talking to her foster family, and I was realizing that me and Jocelyn were a lot alike, and she did seem like a really good fit for our family. And she actually sent me a picture of Jocelyn at this point, which I sent over to my mom. And when my dad saw the picture, I guess he started crying because he felt like that was his granddaughter as well. The whole process was hard. We did visits with her, so we would come and take her for the day. And this was important, and it was to ensure that the move was as least traumatic for her as possible, and that we did not take her in unless we knew that we were going to adopt her, because she didn't, like I said, she didn't need to be moved again. So these were hard, because I felt like she was our daughter. From the minute that we had the visit with her, I'm like, I wanted her to stay. It was a very important part of the process, though, and on July 3rd, 2019, she actually did move in. And then we were finally able to adopt her on January 29th, 2020, and now she is a part of our family forever. As you can see, there were a bunch of events that needed to happen. I'm just going to kind of highlight them. So for one, we needed to become foster parents, and this was just out on a whim idea of how to expand our family and how to help. So we needed to become foster parents. It was really important that we became foster parents at the time that we did, or else we would not have had the opportunity to have Jocelyn. Well, then a couple months, right after we became foster parents, there was actually an adoption class, because in order to foster and adopt, you have to take a class for fostering and a class for adopting. Well, there was an adoption class coming up, and we were like, oh, we need to take that, because remember, we were wanting to adopt. And our licensing worker was like, oh, that's not necessary, like, you guys don't need to take it. Adoption situation's not going to come up for a long time, because truth is, they usually don't. So we were like, oh, okay, never mind. Well, then we got a call. There was an opening for the adoption class, and the person that was teaching the class was like, do you guys want to come? And we're like, sure, we'll come. So we did that adoption class, and thank God we did, because again, we would not have been considered. We needed to have that 3-year-old placement that I happened to find on Facebook, because without him, we wouldn't have met the caseworker that then shared our information with Jocelyn's caseworker. Her foster family that she was living with had to decide that they weren't going to adopt her. And, they're very religious, and I think that we all agree that the reason that they came to that conclusion was because she was supposed to be with us, and God was leading her to our family. So, yeah, there was a bunch of things that needed to add up and be timed perfectly in order for Jocelyn to join our family. And that's why I believe that adoption is not random. It is planned, and it happens exactly the way that God intends it to happen. Jocelyn's dying to come in here, so I'm going to let Jocelyn come in. Another little thing, though, that I wanted to share is that, I always had this feeling that I was looking for my daughter. Well, Jocelyn shared with me that God had told her that her family was looking for her, and that she was going to find us. So we both were looking for each other, and it was just kind of magical. But let me bring her in. So,
hey, I'm Jocelyn.
How old are you?
6.
And what's your favorite thing to do?
Play with cheetahs.